Hi, my name is Dawn Montefusco, and this is Write Your True Story. How to use your story to grow your business, inspire millions, and leave a legacy. And today we have Shanda Trofe. She's a publishing consultant and author coach specializing in book writing and marketing strategies for authors, coaches, speakers, and entrepreneurs. As president and CEO of Transcendent Publishing and Write from the Heart, she aims to educate writers on the business side of writing and publishing and how to create an empire based on the core concepts of their published work. Shanda is the best-selling author of several books, including Write from the Heart and Authorpreneur, How to Build an Empire and Become an Authority in Your Business. Hi, Shanda.
Hi, how are you?
I'm great. I love the names of your companies, Transcendent Publishing and Write from the Heart. That really speaks in alignment to, I think, what I think we should all be doing.
Yes.
So why don't you tell us a little more about what you do and any current projects you have going on?
Sure. Well, I'm the president and CEO of Transcendent Publishing, and what we do there is it's a hybrid publishing company for authors, indie authors who want to publish, but they still want the creative control over the project and to own the rights to their book, but they don't want to go it alone, the complete self-publishing route. And so I have that, but then I'm also an author coach, because what I found over the years is that there's a lot of fear and self-doubt that comes up through not only the book writing process, but also to the point where you're getting ready to publish and put yourself out there and be seen. Yeah. So I've actually, created courses and coaching programs and group coaching programs and one-on-one programs, because I find that's where there's a real need. And I also have, online courses. I have a book writing course. I have a self-publishing course. So I do a lot of online courses, coaching, and publishing.
I love that. You have a big reach.
Yes.
For people to get, and you have different, I would say, price points and types of programs. So almost anyone can fit in somewhere.
Yeah. So whether somebody wants to, join group coaching and just get their feet wet, or they want to work more closely with me, or they just want to take a course, or some people just want the done for you service. So we offer it all.
Can you describe to me what you mean by indie publishing?
Well, indie authors are on the rise. So self-published authors, or authors who go the self-publishing route, or the route where you work with an independent publisher or a hybrid publisher.
Gotcha.
So pretty much bridges the gap between traditional publishing and self-publishing, because what we're finding is nowadays, as the indie authors are on the rise, what they're finding, I have more and more traditionally published authors who I work with. I have Hay House authors who I work with.
Oh, wow.
What they found is, they're going to end up marketing their book anyway. So why not retain more of the royalties and have more creative control over the project? Mm-hmm. This way you can go on to create other things from the content. You own your rights to your book. So with traditional publishing, and it's right for some, but with traditional publishing, you usually have to sign those rights away, and you wait a year, sometimes 18 months for your book to be published. They could change the cover and the title and the interior message. And so, especially with somebody who wants to create a book for their business, they don't want to wait 12 months or months, because then we're on to the next great idea. So it just gives you a little bit more creative control over the project.
That's awesome. I specialize in true stories, memoir, true stories for business. And I think that going the self-publishing route and working with someone who's an expert in self-publishing is ideal for true stories, because I feel like one of the things I hear is people are so, it's their baby, it's their lives, it's their vulnerability, and to have someone take away the control, or take away most of the money that they might even make from it, just seems unfortunate. So I love what you do, because I feel like it clicks into this title of this summit that I'm doing, which is Write Your True Story. And not just to use your story for your business, but I love that you use the word create an empire, because I'm also wanting people to understand you can inspire millions of people.
Yeah.
And you don't have to wait to get published. You can start doing that kind of inspiring.
Absolutely. So I always say, we all have this calling inside of us. Like, what's our greater purpose? What's our message? We all have life experiences that shape us as who we are. And we can take that message and we can really, take the leap and follow our dreams and learn to monetize that message. Yeah. And so when I say build your empire, that's what I mean. It's, create the book that establishes you as, the authority or lends you credibility. And then from there, create the coaching program or start the speaking tour. So you really can create an empire based on that message. And I think the book is usually a nice place to start, because then you can just, repurpose that content, expand upon it, and create other offers such as, online courses, coaching programs, and all of those things.
That's awesome. So let's see, what I was going to say, for you personally, let's go on to how this all started to some degree. Yeah. Has sharing your story and being vulnerable and authentic about sharing your personal story and your journey on how you got here, has that attracted more people to you just by sharing?
Yes, actually, it's funny because as an online marketer as well, people will see my face and in video ads and they'll see, they'll just see me around the internet and stuff. But what they don't realize is that I'm an introvert, and it really makes me nervous to do even video like this.
Yeah.
And so for a long time, I hid that part of me. And so, because I had the fear of being seen, as many people do, especially I find aspiring authors, because as writers, we're kind of, many of us are introverted by nature. Like, we want to tell our story, but then we don't want to be seen doing it. And unfortunately, to get our stories out there, sometimes we do have to, do the videos and the speaking engagements and things so that we can spread our message. So that drive pulls you forward. So, but at the beginning, I let the fear hold me back. And I realized a major shift in my business when I said, I'm just going to go out there and say, I have the fear of being seen as well, even though, you see me with all these books or you see me, all over the internet, but I also have a fear of being seen. I have a fear of public speaking. And once I said that, I noticed how more people actually started to gravitate towards me. And I think it's because they saw me as a real person that's just them, and then they could connect with me. So there's really something to be said about just being honest and being who you are, and people will be attracted to that.
Yes. I love what you said about they see me as a real person. Because we are just inundated, right, at this point with internet, media. I had someone say, years ago, someone said something like, "Oh, you seem so happy." And I said, "Oh, no, that's the Reader's Digest version on Facebook," because I didn't want to dump and I was starting my business. But what I noticed was that building that trust and being a real person is what I think allows us to have ideal clients, right? Because then you attract your people.
Yes.
For instance. And someone else said, our bullshit monitors are really high now because we have so much, excuse my language, because we have so much realness now. Authenticity is coming out now. People are being vulnerable, that when you're sort of general, it's almost like you're not a real person.
Yes. And I think people, they connect to you and your energy. And when you're not being authentic or you're not showing your true self, that they feel that, they know that.
Yeah.
And so I tend to attract, it's funny because I attract almost the same types of writers over and over to work with. It's usually spiritual writers. I have a lot of business writers also, but not to say they're separate. I have spiritual writers and business writers.
Absolutely.
But it just seems to be somebody who has a story to tell, has a message but doesn't know how to get it out, or doesn't have the confidence to get it out. So I find even with helping those people, it helps me as well.
Tell me more about that, because I really think that's a huge point on when we encourage and motivate and inspire others to really show the world who they are and connect, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's that connection. It seems a little cliche and overused, but the truth is there's an epidemic of people feeling alone out
Yeah.
there. And tell us more about how you encourage people to use whatever story that's personal to them to connect to others, and how that actually helps you in the process.
Sure. Well, I also think that whatever we need to work on as coaches and business professionals, we tend to attract those clients to us to mirror us, and then we learn as we help them through it as well. But one of the things especially with writing, I always say, just be honest and let it out. It's when we get inside our heads about whether it's writing an email series or writing a book.
Agreed.
When we get inside our head and say, well, what are people going to think? Or what if my family reads this? Or who's going to care? Who cares about my story? Or this has all been said before. When we start doing that, we're letting the ego in, and we have to stay in the heart center. So I always say, when you set out, whether it's to write your first draft of a book or just to tell your story authentically in an email sequence, just write honestly and as if nobody's ever going to read it except you, because you can decide later if you're going to share it, if you're going to publish it, what you're going to edit it out, what you're going to add in. But if you can just allow it to come through and shut off that ego-based thinking that wants to stop you, and that negative self-talk, and allow that creative flow to come through, that's when we have our most authentic writing, and that's when we connect to the heart center, I believe.
I agree with you on that one for sure. Do you so in terms of structure, in terms of getting a little, because you're a writing coach and an author coach, getting a little structure-y for a second. Do you think that it's not just the story that matters, but how you tell the story?
Do you mean like the structure of the book, or?
Yeah, let's take it from book or maybe website content. Where it's let's just say book for now. Let's just stick it to one thing. In terms of you have a story to tell. And I feel like, using the hero's journey, seeing maybe the struggle and then the reward, that it's not just an axe to grind, or not just, a way to like purge, that actually how you tell a story that's somewhat needed in order to attract the clients and the customers that come your way. Say you're writing a nonfiction piece for work.
Yes, absolutely. So I always say, people want to learn they want to read it and say, they don't want to be told, first of all, how they feel, or they want you to share your journey. And so they can read it and say, wow, this person gets me. They've been through what what I'm going through. And so by sharing your journey authentically and sharing the epiphany and how it changed for you, and then the silver lining, like the light at the end of the tunnel, leaving them. So yeah, you may be sharing some of the hardships along the way, but you're leaving them inspired, and it's and knowing that there's a happy ending or a way out or a process that you can show them. And I think that when you can openly share things that have happened and show the point to where you got to the epiphany and the happy ending, if you can share that openly, that's when your reader really says, wow, she really gets me, or he or she really gets me, or I'm just like that person. I want to continue reading. I really connect with this author.
Well said. Well said. You know, I found myself sometimes reading books where I get so excited. I'll see someone speak, or, you know, someone will recommend a book that might help me.
Mhm.
And in any way or form, in business or in personal development. And I'll get in there and they might start talking about case studies. And I used to say, you know, that I would go real fast past the case studies because I wanted to get back to the author's story.
Yeah.
You know, what is it about that? Like I really just feel that when I know the details, weird things, like even you know, about their families or about a vacation they went on and how they can loop that back into their the book, the work, it allows me to really listen and read a little more intently about what they're offering in terms of business. Do you think it's the voyeur in us that we just love to really know more about the heroes that we're reading about? Or I don't know what it is about those details. The small stories within the story seem to be trust builders in some
Yeah.
sense.
I mean, it's funny because when I read a book, I always, start with about the author. I
Yeah,
may even go to the author's website. It's kind
totally.
of like, why is reality television so popular? People want to see the lives of others. They want to know they're not alone. They want to get an inside look too. So I always tell people, to use in their, when they're writing an email to their fans or their readers, let them know about your vacation. Let them know about the mistake you made that day, because
Mhm.
it's the story that connects you to people.
I love that you brought up reality TV. I flippantly said that a couple of years ago, and I said, "Oh my gosh, reality TV is making personal memoir come alive again because we no
Yeah,
longer care that much about the big celebrities. We want to know about people we can relate to."
yeah, exactly.
That's so much fun without the embarrassing moments. I think reality TV takes a little bit too much in that.
Yeah, they go a little bit too far.
Speaking about too far, um, what if someone comes to you and says, I don't know if I'm being too vulnerable. I don't know if I'm being too transparent. How do I know how to be authentic and vulnerable? But when is too much too much? What would you maybe say to that?
Well, I think it would depend on each case, but I would definitely say if it makes you feel uncomfortable, if it makes you feel that uncomfortable, sometimes we have to, if the message isn't that important, we have to put it out there, and it might feel a little bit uncomfortable. But if you're sharing something that you are concerned might bring harm to somebody else, or make somebody really unhappy that's close to you, then maybe consider rewording it or being vague about it or not sharing it at all.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
There's another way to say it, or you can edit that piece out. But yeah, there's a point where sometimes you might be sharing too much. You can still make the point without sharing too many details that might harm somebody else's character.
Mm-hmm. That's an excellent point. You also mentioned repurposing, which I love. I haven't covered that yet in this interview series, but when you have a book out, when you finish a book and and you've published it yourself using you,
Mhm.
and you have that kind of guidance, it seems that your true story, the repurposing of it is huge. I mean, you
Yeah.
can use it in speaking gigs, even on consults. It gives you a base of how to relate to people. Tell us a little bit more about your ideas on how people can, when they write a book with you and self-publish it, the ideas of repurposing it to help grow the business.
Sure. That's actually what I wrote Authorpreneur about, because what I found was I would help authors get their book published, and then they just didn't know exactly how to market it or what to do next. And the truth is, as authors, the real money we make is not always on the book sales. It's on everything we create after. So, you know, you can do workbooks to publish along with your book. Now you have two books instead of one. You can create an online course based on the content in your book. You could create, writing, or for me, right? I write to writers, but I do writing workshops. I do, so you could do workshops, retreats, coaching programs. So all those things would just be, and I do a lot of online courses. So what I always find it's very easy if you write nonfiction to take the book and make the chapters modules. And then of course you want to expand upon it, because or else they could just read your book. So, add videos and audios and workbooks and worksheets, and maybe a coordinating Facebook group or a forum, and maybe some Zoom calls with your students. And people love that because it helps them feel like they're connected to a community, and that they're working through the program with somebody else. And for the people who get through your book and get to the end, and you have that call to action maybe in your book, how they can continue to work with you, those are the people that want something more for you. So I always tell authors, utilize that space at the back of your book. Let them know how they can continue the journey with you.
Oh, I love it. That call to action piece is really interesting, because it's kind of like, say you're at a cocktail party or a dinner party, and you meet somebody and you're like, wow, I really jive with them. Maybe we could work together. And then, you say, hey, look me up on Facebook, or here's my phone number, or, let's get together and do something, because we want to build that relationship, and we feel inspired by the person, or maybe that person feels inspired by us. And I feel like when we're writing books with our true stories and what we do, it really opens up the door for relationship building. And I think that when we look at business more as building a community and building relationships, that I think that makes it easier for writers and introverts and authors to reframe it, as opposed to, oh, I hate marketing, to be like, wait, you're sharing your true story, you're building relationships out there, and people are you're going to change somebody's life. Really?
Yeah, absolutely. I find my one of my Facebook groups I have for every year I would run this 8-week book writing intensive every January. And over the years, I used the same Facebook group, and it grew and grew. And they are like a family. They love the group. And so they support one another. They say their fears and their, it's nice. I think people want to belong to a community, and writing can be a lonely journey. So it's nice to have, somebody to work with, or a group of other writers you can connect with.
Yes. I think that we take that for granted big time, in terms of writing is an art, and I don't care what kind of writing it is, truly. Because it's the art of communication. It's the art of connection. And you know how they say, they won't remember what you said, but they'll remember how you made them feel. Yeah. Writers get to do that in sharing their stories. That's what we feel, right? And I love that. I love that you're bringing people together. And I hope anyone out there, really does look you up and feel that connection. Because I think that you really give a lot of touch points on your website. You can feel that you want to reach out, and you want people to reach back in. So
yeah, absolutely.
That's fantastic. Yeah. This whole idea, building the empire, me talking about inspiring millions, I say it, but let's hear it from you. The ripple effect of telling a true story, where, you've maybe gone through a struggle, or maybe you've discovered a way to do something easier so you can help someone, or you're going to be in service. Tell us about how that ripple effect can affect people that you may never meet, that it really does matter.
Oh, it does matter. Like, so for example, I always have authors who say, well, this has all been done before. Who's going to want to read this? And I always say to them, every day that you don't share your message, you are depriving somebody, and I don't typically say it in those words, but you are really taking something away from somebody who could benefit from your message.
Yes.
And even if it only touched one person, and I always feel like those who are meant to find the book will find it.
I agree.
I always put my email address in the back of my book, because I want to hear from readers. And I hear from readers all over who I have no idea how they find me or found my book. But I just feel like if there's a message, do you ever notice how books just seem to find you when there's a message in the book for you?
It's so weird. Yeah.
So I always say, get it out there. It'll end up in the hands of the person who's meant for your message. And if you don't write that book, you're taking that from that person. You're holding it back from them.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah.
And they will never know. I mean, I had a book once follow me around, literally. Long story short, I was supposed to bring it back to the library for a friend. And it just kept winding up in different places. And I'm like, I'm getting there, I'm getting there, I'm getting there. And then all of a sudden, I opened it up. and it was one of the books that I loved, and I thought, wow, that was weird. It was almost like it was following me around.
Yeah.
But energy does that. What about social media and internet? I love that again, with repurposing, we do have this opportunity to share a message on social media and internet. And if you're an indie author and you're doing a lot of your own marketing, isn't that a great platform to really build your audience?
Oh, absolutely. So that's one of the things that I always say is hard for us because, sometimes we're introverted, but because I have courses and things that I need to market, the social media has been a great tool for me to get my my offers and my books and things like that in front of my target audience. You can really you can join Facebook groups where your target audience will be hanging out, and you can join in conversations and offer value, or you can start your own Facebook group, which is what I tend to do, and then you invite your target audience in and you offer value that way. I see social media more as a way to develop relationships. It's not a place really to sell. I feel like the sale comes naturally the more value you give and the more connections you make. So yeah, some people go on social media and they feel like they're just there to sell.
Yeah.
I think if you give value and you offer value and you engage in conversations, you get to know people. It's a nice way to, meet people from all over the globe, connect with people all over the world. And it just makes it a lot easier to grow your list and to sell your books and your products as well.
And be of service. I think we forget that it's our duty. We're not here to do everything alone, and we're here to help other people. And that kind of value, it's so different than old school ways. Even telling the true story. I'm 49. I remember when, oh my gosh, when I grew up in New York, if you couldn't talk about your real life in business, you had to pretend to be something that you weren't. And let alone this idea of giving value, and then something coming back. But I love that the 21st century has given us the best time in human history to be a writer and an author and to self-publish. It's kind of a miracle, not a miracle, but it is a miracle. It's kind of just this amazing opening for writers and authors to finally be read without having to like staple it together and give it to their cousins and hoping that that person reads it, Yeah. So you're doing big work. I just want you to know, I feel like, people who are really helping people self-publish on your level are really expanding their lives and reaching people internationally. And it's big work. So thank you. Thank you for everything you do.
Oh, sure. It's my pleasure. It's my life's work. It's what, I know it's my purpose, and I want to help others get their voices heard and get their message out there. So
excellent. So you have a great free gift that you're offering. Tell us a little bit about that.
Well, every year I create a book writing planner, a free book writing planner. So this year I have the 2018 book writing planner, and it's a 44-page PDF download. So you can download it right to your computer, but it'll really help you through the brainstorming, the outlining, and finding your target daily word count. So if you want to write your book in 3 months or 6 months, based on the genre you're writing in, you find your goal word count, how many days you're going to write, you find your target daily word count. And then I have things in there like a statement of commitment where you sign that commitment to yourself, because I really feel like that's important when we set out to say, okay, I'm going to do this. You're putting that intention out into the universe.
Yes.
So there are a lot of neat things in there. And then at the back, there's a calendar, but there's a good amount of content in there that's really helpful for someone who says, I have this book inside me. I've been wanting to write this book. I just don't know where to start. This is going to help you get those ideas out of you and kind of get a little bit of structure just to get you started.
Excellent. Excellent. And it doesn't need to take long to write a book.
No, it doesn't. I mean, I wrote Authorpreneur in 60 days.
I love it.
And I set out to write it in 90 days. And I said, okay, I'm really busy, because everybody always says, I'm too busy to write a book. Listen, I'm busy. But so I said, I'm going to get up an hour earlier every morning for 90 days. And I'm just going to write 1 hour a day. And so what happened was I would time myself for 1 hour every morning. And I kept track of my word count on my desk. And I would stop at the hour mark. And even on the days when I kept writing, I always recorded the word count at the hour mark, because what ended up happening was I was trying to beat yesterday's word count. And what that did was that stopped me from going back and editing as I wrote.
Wow.
I resist the urge. And so what I found was I was getting in the creative flow. My writing was more heartfelt. And I started to write faster and faster. So as I set out to write my book in 90 days, I actually wrote it in 60 days because I was doing that. And I always say, if you can resist the urge to edit as you write, because every time you stop, you're letting that ego in. So keep your self-editing session separate from your writing session. You write much faster. And those are the days where you look back and you say, wow, did I write that?
Yes.
Who wrote that? You
Yes.
don't even remember some of the things you wrote. That's when you're in that creative flow.
Yes. Oh my gosh, I love you. That was great. That's
Awesome.
a great strategy.
Yeah.
You're amazing. I had so much fun with this interview. Thank you so much.
Oh, thank you for having me. I really enjoyed it.
Yeah. All right. Well, everybody, don't forget to look up Shanda Trofe. All the information is here with her fabulous free gift. And Shanda, I hope we have a chance to do this again sometime.
Sure, absolutely.
Okay.
I'd love to.
Yay. All right. Well, have a great day, and I'll talk to you soon.
Okay, bye-bye.
Bye.